A very good day to you, precious viewer. Welcome to this tutorial on Trello, a very popular and very efficient, easy to use project management software. I remain Patrick, your humble ICT trainer and instructor. So, just like I said earlier, we are going to be looking at a very renowned software called Trello. All right. And by Trello, I mean Trello, as you see on the screen. Okay. And the what we are going to be looking at is simply the what it's all about, of which I've given a hint earlier. We'll be looking at how to sign up to it. We'll be looking at a practical walkthrough on the major components of Trello. And this tutorial, if you have no experience at all using the Trello software, will take you from a complete beginner to a very functional user of the Trello project management software. It is so useful, and that's why it's very popular. A lot of organizations, individuals, small teams use it to manage their projects from small to large scale. So very quickly, let's go ahead and go into Trello website. So the first thing we need to do, of course, is to open your web browser, whether it's Google Chrome or whichever one you are using. So just type www.trello.com as you see on the screen. All right, and you press enter. So it takes you here. And the good thing about Trello is that they have packages for every level of person. Okay, they have, very quickly, to make you see it, you simply go to the pricing option. All right, you can sign up into Trello by simply coming here, or you can sign up through the pricing option. There are several ways you can sign up. All right, and first and foremost, let's go to the pricing section. So this pricing section gives you an overview of the packages available in Trello that is suitable to what you want to use the project management software for. All right, so just as it's written here, you can see that the free version is majorly for individuals or small teams looking to organize any project. Even this free version, you can have several projects in the free version. Okay, you can have up to 10 boards per workspace. We are going to subsequently, very shortly, be looking at what these boards and workspace really mean. These boards actually mean the number of projects that can be on your workspace. Okay, so in the free version, you can have up to 10 projects in your workspace. These are some of the offers it has. Okay, you can see that it has unlimited storage. Okay, but the size of the files may be limited. See, so you can see that the free version has some limitations. Maybe if you have if you are just using it for an individual um level, or you just have a very small team, maybe like 5 to 10 individuals working on the project, this free plan will be very suitable. Okay, now if that's not it and you want to go to the standard plan, you can see that it's for small teams that need to manage work and scale collaboration. Okay, maybe if there's a possibility of extending the small amount of team members in the project, then this standard plan is very suitable, and it's $5 per month. Okay, and of course I know that if you get the 1 year plan, there will be a little discount. And as you can see, it has everything that the free plan has, but extras. And you can see one of them is it has unlimited storage, meaning you can upload as many files as you want. But this time the size of each file has a maximum of 250 MB, which is much improved from the free version, which is just 10 MB. Okay, so you can see that they have their advantages. Then for the premium plan, you can see that for teams that need to track and visualize multiple projects in several ways, including boards, timelines, calendars, etc. So this one gives you a more versatile way of handling multiple projects, and how to view them. Okay, majorly this free and standard plan, there's a certain style you can view it, but for this premium plan you can view it in different styles. Now the enterprise plan is more suitable to large organizations, all right, that work with many projects, and each project comprises of a large number of team members. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to start with the free plan. Okay, and I can assure you that what we will learn in this free plan is very relevant, you see, and can be applied to very useful projects despite the fact that it's a free plan. So having said this, I simply just go here and left click on get started. So having left click on get started, um it takes me to the point where I need to sign up. Okay, like I said earlier, you could sign up, in that first way, when you first log in, when you first visit the Trello website, and they ask you to sign up, or you sign up through the pricing. So all I need to do is, if you have a Gmail account, it even makes it much easier. Okay, so you can just go and left click on continue with Google. Okay, so you can go ahead and use whichever Google account, Gmail account you have. For example, I want to sign up with this Gmail account, so I left click on it. Then of course it automatically puts some of my details, and I just left click on create account. So it says looks like it's your first time on Trello. Do you want to create a new account using your Atlassian account with the email nosoche? Just say create your account. So voila, that's all you need to do. I think there may be a need to verify your account when you create this account. which you can easily do through your phone, your mobile phone. Just check your email. If you get a new message from Trello, they'll just say you should left click on a link, um to click on a link or tap on a link, and it just verifies your Trello account. For the sake of time, I just want to go straight up into it. Okay, so first things first, you can see some of the options here. It says boards, templates, home, workspaces, and it says create a workspace. So this leads us to understanding what a workspace is. Okay, so if I switch to here, you would see that we have workspaces. By moving to this section, I'm trying to throw light on the components, the major components that make up Trello software. So we have workspaces, we have boards, which are in workspaces, and we have lists, which are in boards, which are in workspaces. Okay, and we have cards, which are in lists, which are in boards, which are in workspaces. Starting with the first one, the workspace is just a space in which all your boards or projects, will be created. Okay, so you can liken your workspace to be like your program portfolio. Okay, for those that don't understand, program management or program portfolio is a portfolio that contains several projects. So it's just like a briefcase that contains different projects in it. Okay, so your workspace is like that portfolio, that program portfolio, in which several projects can be created in. All right, and these projects are simply what we call boards. But sticking with this one, let's go back to our Trello account, and here you can create a workspace. So for example, maybe the workspace is one that will contain projects on that have to deal with youth empowerment, okay, and development. Okay, so you can call the workspace youth empowerment and development. Okay, so the workspace, that's the workspace name. Okay, then you can choose the workspace type. Okay, whether you want it to be operations, sales, CRM, marketing, engineering, small business, education, human resources, others. Okay, so you can choose whichever niche the particular workspace is based on. So if it's like youth empowerment and development, in a sense, youth empowerment can be can be done in terms of educating, training the youth. Okay, and training um goes with education. Okay, so let me pick education with this. Then you can give it a brief description, like what the workspace entails. Okay, so you could say something like this workspace entails projects or comprises of projects on youth empowerment and development. Okay, so you just press continue, and once you do that, the workspace is created. All right, so having done this, we can go ahead and left click on our workspace to reveal some of the um components of that workspace. Now this now takes us to boards. Okay, so when we left click on boards, okay, this opens up here. So it now wants you to create your first board. So this can be a specific project, okay, that falls under the portfolio of youth empowerment and development. So you go ahead and left click on create your first board. So after left clicking on it, you see these options. You can go ahead and choose the background of the board you want. All right, you can use pictures here, or preferably you can just use a color here. When you left click on these three buttons, okay, you can left click on see more to see other color options. So you could decide to use a color that is um um suitable to your organization or to the specific project. So let's say I pick green. Maybe if my organization is one that whose aesthetics is green, or maybe the youth empowerment aesthetics is a particular color. So you could, maybe the department in that organization is that particular color, you could just pick green. Okay, so for the board title we could just call it um something like let's say what the project is about is to create tutorials. Okay, um create on um tutorials on ICT, tutorials on ICT topics. Let's say something like that, or ICT related fields. Okay, so you can call it the project tutorials on ICT fields. Okay, so you can now left click on create, and once you left click on create, this board opens up to look like this. So having done this, we move to the next component of Trello software. You can see that we now have three lists. Okay, and that takes me back to this diagram. We've moved from workspaces to boards, and in each board or project we have what we call lists. Okay, and lists are simply the stages involved in each project. All right, the stages involved in each project. So just like the theoretic understanding of project management, the traditional way it is taught, there's usually the ideation stage, there's then the planning stage, there's then the um, implementation stage, there's then the evaluation stage, um, uh, yeah, and the likes. So that's why we have something like to do, doing, and done. Okay, so by default it's this way, but you could customize it based on the specific project you are working on. So for example, we are working on how we can, for this project, how we can create tutorials on relevant ICT fields which we will use to teach youths, to empower them, to become value adding in such ICT fields that are relevant in a particular country or in the world in general. So you could go ahead and rename this. If you want to rename it, you just left click on the um the word here, and this opens up for you to rename it. So I can rename this first stage ideas. Okay, okay, and just click outside to activate it. You can click these three buttons, okay, to reveal other options. You could add extra cards in case these three cards are not enough. So we'll get to that shortly. Okay, sorry, not cards, we can add lists rather. We'll get to cards later. So this first list stage can be called ideas. The next stage can be called planning. Okay, the next stage can be called um okay the next stage can be called recording. Let's say recording and editing um con okay, editing tutorial content. This one can be planning tutorial content. You see, tutorial contents. All right, yeah. Then the last one, if you want to add an extra one, you just left click on this add list and give it the name you want. You can now say submit finished production for review. So maybe you want to submit it to management to see whether it meets the quality standard of the organization. Okay, so you can left click on add list. Okay, then the final one can now be review feedback. Let's just stop there. Okay, but you get the idea. Okay, review feedback, add list. Please make sure you left click on add list. Okay, so now we have these different stages in the project. Okay, so having done this, we now move to the first stage. Okay, and that brings us to the concept of cards. So moving to our diagram again, we've moved from lists, which are the different stages in the project, to cards. Okay, so cards are simply the different will I say the different actions you are going to take in each stage of the project. Okay, the deliverables, the inputs, okay, the deliverables of each stage of the project is what we know is known as cards in Trello. So going back to our tutorial, so for this idea stage, once you left click on add card, okay, you can say enter a title for this card. You could say ICT tutorials, ICT tutorial content. Okay, you say add card. So once you left click on add card, it adds this ICT tutorial content, and you can keep building upon this card. Okay, once you notice that you are done with the activity that needs to be done on this particular card on a particular stage, you can now drag it and move it to the next stage. So you keep moving it to the output of the first stage becomes the input of the next stage, and you keep dragging it until it reaches the final stage of completion. All right, but before we do that, there are certain actions that needs to be taken to ensure that the plans for this first stage is completed. So once we for us to do that, you just go to this pencil button here. That's to edit, add content to the card. So when you left click on it, you see the option to say that says open card. So you left click on open card. So it opens up the card called ICT tutorial content. Now this is where we begin to explain some of these options here, which are very useful. I'll just explain some really key ones for this tutorial so that it's not too long. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is you can add a description, like um what we seek to achieve in this particular uh phase, okay, in this particular card. So you can see for now, okay, um you can say, okay, we want to, if you are the project manager here, you could describe that you want ideas on relevant and in demand um ICT ICT services. Okay, ICT services that we need to train youths on. Okay, so you could say that we need to train youths on. All right, so you can say save. So whoever you add to this particular card, if it's your team members, we are getting to members next. That's why I'm saying this now. When they are added, they can see what this stage is all about. Okay, what is expected of them. So this now leads us to members. So when you left click on members, okay, you can decide to add members to your to a particular card. Okay, so if we left click on show other workspace members, it says no members. There's actually an option to add members. Where is that option again? Okay, now to add members, you don't necessarily add members in the cards first. You have to add them to the workspace. Okay, so it's when you go to here, okay, you go to workspace settings. You must first add members to your workspace before you are able to add them to individual cards that are in the stages of a particular project. Okay, so in order to do that, you go to workspace settings. All right, left click on workspace settings, then you see this option that says members. Okay, so when you click on the plus button, it brings this up. So you should understand that all your team members, everybody that will be working on this particular that will be involved in this particular workspace, this program portfolio, must be signed into Trello. All right, so one way to invite them is you type in their email address. Okay, you must know their email address. So for example, I can type in the email of this particular person who has a Trello account. Okay, you can see the name pops up. So if the person is not signed into Trello, the name will not pop up like this. So make sure all your team members are signed up to Trello. So you can see that this person is already in Trello. Okay, so you can just type in the full name, the full email. Okay, and um now you can see that it gives the option of the person's username in Trello. So you just left click on it and left click on send invite. All right, so the invitation will be sent to the person, and the person can now join, all right, your workspace. So that's one way you can add a member. The other one is to create a link. You can create a link, okay, and once that link is created, you can send the link. You can see it's the link. You say you left click on copy link, all right, then you go to wherever the person's maybe WhatsApp or social media, okay, and paste that link to the person and tell the person to click the link to join the workspace. This is another way you can invite members. Okay, so I'll go ahead now, and that was my other email. I'll go ahead and accept the invitation. Okay, so the team member will receive your invitation and will have the option to accept it. Trello will send them an email, and you have the option to say go to workspace, which means accept. Okay, so having done this, let's now go back to um our board. Okay, so left clicking on the board, going back to the card we just created. Okay, we can now go to members, and we can now go to show other workspace members. Do you see that? Since the other team member has accepted my invite, other workspace members will be here. Okay, you can now choose to left click on them to add them. So as I left click on this member that was showing, I've just added this member to the card. You see, so I've just shown you now how you can add members to a particular card. For example, if there are three team members that are specifically supposed to work um on this section or on this phase of the project, you can add them this way. Okay, so you can add them. So having done this, you can they can now give comment. Okay, they can write comments like for example, they can give comments. Maybe you as the manager can decide, okay, one topic we can teach. You can say something like one topic to teach, you know, that is the idea phase now is data analytics. Okay, analytics. Okay, so you press save. Okay, so this is how you can make comments. Okay, other team members too can make their comments. All right, so for example, if the other team member made a comment that another one can be UI UX design and graphics design, another one can be um another one can be artificial intelligence and machine learning, you see all their comments show up here as options. I'm just using a case study to give you an idea on how you can use Trello. Okay, so another thing you can do is let's say labels. What are labels for? If you want to give the particular card a kind of label like a color, this will be useful in a situation where you want to filter your project. So for example, you want to filter your project, you could filter based on a particular card's color. Okay, so maybe if you give this card ICT tutorial content a blue color, okay, or a green color like this, you could filter and say I want the cards that only have green color to show up. The others that I label with different colors rather, should not show up. You get the idea. So this is where labeling becomes very useful. Okay, so this is, you get the idea. So for checklist, for example, now checklist is like where you give, like, how will I say, it's like objectives. Okay, like, and to, these objectives, anyone that is met will be checked. Okay, anyone that is not met will be left unchecked. So for example, you can create a checklist for this particular project and say, okay, the first one can be completed um, number of tutorials to create. That meaning that we have listed the number of ICT tutorials we need to create, whether it's for, like I mentioned, machine learning and artificial intelligence, graphics, UI, UX design, software development, cloud computing, data analytics. Have we all listed what we are going to be creating? Okay, so when you left click on add, you will see that this checklist appears. Okay, so you can choose to check it or uncheck it. Let's click on save. Okay, you can choose to check and uncheck it. Okay, so go back to checklist again, and the second one could be um planned out content of tutorial. So planned out content of tutorials. Okay, so after we've listed the tutorials we want to create, okay, we can now move to the next phase, which is the planning. Okay, so the next thing will now be, maybe if you have another checklist, you can have another checklist that says record and edit content. So the videoing of, the and editing of the tutorials, those that will teach it, okay, practically, and the recording of it and editing it to look very good. This is the stage. Okay, so record and edit content of tutorials. Okay, so this can be another stage. Okay, I think there should be a way. I think I'll get to that later. But this is how you majorly create checklists. Okay, so copy items from. So if you want to copy the items that are on a particular card, that's when you do that. So this checklist, the items in ICT tutorial content are this. The items under this ICT tutorial content. So yeah, so these are checklists you can create I'm noticing something that they are already checked, but they are not supposed to be already checked. You should be able to check and uncheck them. I think I'm having, whether it may be something with the network, but I'll work on that later anyway. But this is majorly how you create checklists. You should be able to check and uncheck them anyway. So all right. So we'll get to that later. So the next thing I want to talk about is working with dates. Okay. So you can work with dates in that you can set a due date for the completion of a particular phase of the project. So for example, um this first phase of ideas, which is to the major ideas now is to um find out the topics we are going to teach. You can set a due date for this. Okay, a start and an end date for it. So for example, this idea stage, you can say it should be it should start today and end in 1 day's time or 2 days time. Let's say 2 days time. So if today is 15th, we can say it should end on the 17th. Okay, so this is where you add timing to the completion of a particular phase of the project. Okay, and there's something very amazing about this Trello, because it gives you due date reminder. So maybe if the start date of a particular phase for the project has started and is nearing the due date, which is the end date for that phase to be completed, you can decide to set a reminder. You can decide to set a reminder 2 days before, a day before, 2 hours before, 1 hour before, 15 minutes before. Okay, so let's say we want to set it a day before. You can set a day before and choose save. And what happens is that a day before the due date, an email will be given to the members, be issued to the members of the team members of that phase of the project, that look, in so in the next day your project will finish. Please do your best to complete that stage as soon as possible. The next thing I want to quickly talk about is the attachment phase. Okay, so this phase can be like where you can attach files that are relevant to the particular um phase of the project. Okay, and there can be instances where a particular project needs, needed tools, maybe digital tools, videos, documents, images, sound. You understand, they need all these tools to be gathered. Okay, so that they can use it to start creating. You understand, this is where attachment becomes very useful. So you can choose a file, from your computer. Okay, so let's imagine that maybe a particular image was needed. Okay, so you can just choose maybe an image and press open. Okay, and it attaches this image, that it uploads the image on that particular card, so that every other member can view that image. Okay, so you can just send attachments, like I said, relevant to that particular phase and card. Okay, so others can view it, scrutinize it. Okay, make comments on it. So you can see, maybe if somebody had an issue with this image, they can come here and left click on comments. All right, okay, I can see that it's my, and they can see something like this image is not, okay, my battery is running low, is not clear enough. All right, moving on from attachments, we go to the next option. This custom fields is usually active for the paid version of accounts. The paid version, that's accounts that are of paid version. So I'm not really going to go into this, okay? But the next thing I want to go into is the power up section, where you can add power ups. Power ups are like super, giving your projects, okay, superpowers. They are like add-ons you can put on your project, on the different sections of your project, whether it's the board or the card or the list, okay, that enhances it, okay. That extra things you can do is just like your Chrome browser or your internet browser is what you call extensions or plugins, extra things you can add to the default features of the browser just to enhance it, okay. So if you want to add power ups, you just left click on add power ups here, okay, and you will see this section that gives you a list of several power ups you can add, okay, to your project, to the particular project you are working on. All right, so some of them are free, some of them are paid, okay. They require payment for you to install and use them. So for example, if I wanted to, let's say, since we are in this ideation stage, okay, and we needed something like a voting power up, okay, something like voting power up. So it says, like, see this one, voting, says give power to the people and allow users to vote on cards. So let's say there's a particular card, in the board, board, okay, that you need people to vote on to know whether it is approved or not. So you could decide to add this voting um power up by left clicking on the add button. Once you left click on it, it shows settings. So when you left click on settings, you can go to edit power up settings. Then you can say who is allowed to vote on cards. You can say members, okay. So those that are members of the project are allowed to vote, okay. So you can tweak some settings here, you know to your taste. All right, so having done this, let's just close this, okay, and let's go to our card now. Going to our card, um ICT tutorial content, you see that there's now a vote option there. So if anyone chooses to vote on this card, they can just go ahead and left click, okay, and you will see that there is one vote, one vote has been added, okay, and you can keep counting the votes, and yeah, you can see it's quite useful in that sense. So that's just an idea of what power ups help us to do, okay. Then the next thing I want to move on to is automation. This is a very important tool in Trello, because it helps you to, like, automate certain functionalities without you having to always do it by yourself. Automation is a very useful um practice in any system, okay. And you know using automation in your Trello project makes things quicker. You can be resting or doing something else while the automated process is going on. Okay, so in order to use automation, um you can just go ahead and there's this one that says add button. Okay, so when you left click on add button, you will see certain options. Okay, so the essence is, when this button is clicked, what should it do? When the button is clicked, which is a trigger, what should it do? So for example, if we wanted this card to be moved from the ideation phase to the planning stage phase when the button is clicked, okay, we will now go to this option that says move card to. You see that? So let me left click on this move card to. Okay, then we can give it a title. We'll say something like send. We can say something like move to planning. All right, then the icon, then now, so it says move the card to the, okay, yes, top is okay, of the list. Now list name. Now do you see, move the card to the top, that's to the very top side of the list. Okay, and the list name we want to give now is planning tutorial content. So from the ideas list to the planning tutorial content list. Okay, so we must choose the particular list we want it to be moved to. So we left click on planning tutorial content. Okay, so yeah, so yes, we want, this is the board we are working on, the project we are working on, which is tutorials on ICT field. So we want to leave this like this. Okay, so after doing this, we can just left click on add button. All right, so you can see now in the automation this button has been added. Okay, so once this is clicked, you will see that it will be moved to the planning list. First and foremost, let me left click on the move to planning so you get to see what I mean. So when I close this now, I just left click on move to planning. Do you notice that this card has been moved from this ideas list to the planning tutorial content list? Do you see that? So instead of having to come here and drag it, do you see, I can just, once everything is done here, once everything has been finished here, you can just left click on move to planning. Do you see that? The next thing we want to look at is the filter option. Okay, the filter option. So if you come here, this filter option, you can see we've looked at power ups, automation, filters. Okay, this is another way you can go to automation aside being inside the card. So if I left click on the automation now, okay, you can see this you can see these options. You can see the one for rules, buttons, email reports, send feedback. We did the one for buttons earlier, but let me just show you the one for rules, how it's like. So if I left click on rules now, okay, okay, so if I left click on rules, okay, it's giving you an idea of, this is like a tutorial on what rules are about. Okay, so if I come here and say create automation, okay, the first thing it will ask me is add a trigger. So if I left click on add trigger, Okay, let's say we want to do another card move. Okay, this one is card changes, dates, checklist, card content field. So for example, this checklist, if all the list, the list in the list of the checklist have been checked, okay, then something should happen. That's the trigger if we were to use checklist. But let's say I wanted to use card move again. So if I left click on card move, okay, so it says when a card is added to, okay, the board by me. Do you see? So for example, if you are the lead project manager or the program manager, okay, or you are the lead project manager, you can choose to say when the card is moved by you, okay. But if you want to make it movable by everyone to trigger, the change, you can choose by anyone. So let's just say by me for now, okay. When the card is moved by me, okay, I want to see how we can add. Yes, you see that members. So when a card is when a card is added to the board by me, well, not really. I want it to be moved, okay. Then when it is moved, I want to add a member to the card. So I can add priming world now to the card, okay, when it is moved, okay. So I can add a member to the card. So the trigger is when a card is added to the board by me, then action add member. Although I wanted it to be moved, I think I mistakenly chose um um added instead, okay. So let's say I want to delete that and I say card move, okay. And when a card is by me to the list, when it's added to, let's say, recording, we are currently in planning now. When it is added to recording list, okay, so we add this one, okay. When it's added to the recording list, then the action will be add this member to that list. You get the idea? So the action is when a card is added to recording list, then what should happen? Add this member. For example, you may not want to just be manually adding a new member when the card is moved to a new list. You know that in projects, some team members are activated when the project gets to another phase of the life cycle. You get the output of the first phase will be the input of another phase, and once that input comes in, new members are triggered. You get the idea? So this is where automation is very useful, okay. So after I've set this up, I can now choose something like save, okay. I press save, okay, then I close here. Now if I move this from planning to recording, bam, let's see, let's click inside. Once I move it from planning to recording, notice that this member has been added. Do you see that? Okay, this member has been added to the list automatically. You get the idea? Because of that automation. Do you see? So I hope you understand. Okay, so the next thing we want to look at now is the final thing we want to look at for now is the filters option. This section just simply allows you to search for a particular content in your project, okay. That's what it just enables you to do. If you want to search for a particular member, you just type in the name. If you want to search for a particular label, you labeled a particular color. You just choose the color of the label, okay, and it searches it out for you. So that's basically what the filter section enables you to do. Okay, so I don't want the video to be too long, but I believe that we've um, gone through the major aspects of the Trello software.